What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Altitude Show. I'm your host, Dave Brinker, fresh out of my COVID bug from the hunting expo in Salt Lake City. It sounds like everybody else got it too. Dude, that virus sucks. I'm so mad about that virus, other than the fact that it's killed hundreds of thousands of people, but also it's just a weird virus that we all know at this point probably came from a lab and no one's being held accountable. That's a whole nother subject. But it's weird, the symptoms, like everybody's different. I had a friend that his balls hurt when he had the virus. Like he had achy balls. That's weird. I had weird night sweats, congestion, like just kind of a mild, weird sore throat, never feeling like totally awake for parts of the day, like foggy. That's probably the third time I've had it. And every time I'm like, God, this is a weird virus. Hate it. Anyways, enough of that. Welcome back. I didn't do an episode last week. Got some fun episodes planned. Today is another elevation journal because there's something I've been thinking about a lot that I wanted to talk about. But first, the Altitude Show is brought to you by Mountain Tough Fitness. Dustin and the crew out in Bozeman, Montana have come up with a awesome, well-rounded program to help you get your butt back together, which just happens to be the theme of today, is getting your together. But I've been using Mountain Tough for over a year now, and I use it a few times a week. It's just an app. I can use it right here in my office. I don't need a lot of weights or equipment. Usually it's just a pull-up bar, some kettlebells, maybe a block, and I can get an awesome 45-minute workout, no problem. But they also have elite programs where you do need a gym and more equipment, but you can really get in elite shape. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are, if you're a female or a male, if you're a hunter or a non-hunter. It's a functional fitness program to help you perform better outdoors. Think of it that way. You can use my code, Dave20. I did hear that the code was not working last week. The code does work now, Dave20. It gets you 20% off your subscription to Mountain Tough. Go to the App Store and get the app. You won't regret it. All right. As I said, today's episode is about getting your shit together. And the reason I was thinking about that is because I was thinking about the man that I used to be a lot lately. I was recently at a place where there was this drunk dude. And right when he walked in the room, I knew he was severely drunk. And you know how you can tell when like someone's whiskey drunk? Like kind of hollow-eyed, and just the guy that walks into the party and you know is going to get in a fight or have a bad interaction or be, kind of douchey. When I don't know this guy, probably a fine guy, but that night I didn't want to be around him. Well, my predictions were right. He was just that guy at the party that says whatever's on his mind, is rude. If not everybody else would have been, like, if there would have been other people that were drunk there, probably would have gotten a fight. But he, luckily there wasn't, and everything was fine. But it reminded me of my past. I had PTSD of all the parties I used to go to where there was always that guy and they always ended up getting into a fight or something. And it made the whole rest of the night kind of sour, and it ruined everybody's night. And I was never the fighter, but I did ruin a lot of my own nights with the same substance. And it made me just think of that whole era of my life, which was really from like 15 to 25, when I used to drink multiple nights a week, and smoke and chew and have random sex and all the things that you should not be doing when you're that age that I did. And I'm not proud of it, but I did. And I talk about it openly. And I was just thinking about that whole era, and the point that I woke up when I was about 25 years old. I lived with my parents. Like I said, I was at the bar 4 nights a week at least, living paycheck to paycheck, no direction, couldn't hold down a relationship. I was kind of a loser, to be honest with you. I was working my way through college. I was proud of that. Like I was starting to make some healthy changes, but I was still kind of in this rut that all began when I was like 15. And there was this doctor's appointment I had where the doctor's like, dude, your liver is like, it's, if you keep doing this, it's going to fail. And it kind of woke me up from a health perspective. I'm like, dude, so what do you mean you're not supposed to do what I'm doing? Like, it was just kind of just ingrained in me in the culture. And I've talked about that on this podcast before. But anyways, I started slowly kind of turning my stuff around, and it's still a work in progress today. I'm by no means perfect, far from it, actually. I'm pretty open about all my flaws and how much I work on trying to get better. But I started to, it made me even think further, like, how does one dig out if you're in a string of bad habits, or your kind of life's falling apart, or even you're self-destructive, and you're really in a bad place? You've kind of hit rock bottom. How do you get out of that? Like, what are some of the things that I did that worked? What are some of the things that did not work? What are some of the things that I still have to like try to do every day to try to stay out of that? And that made me think about like something that I've talked about a lot on here, which is kind of, as you get older, you start realizing how finite time is. So I know this is kind of morbid, but hear me out. So right now I'm 43 years old. My average life expectancy for me, based on my weight, my height, and like, who I am, is 79.9 years. So if that's true, that means I have 18 million minutes left. That sounds like a lot, so that doesn't really help. What about 36 summers, 36 Christmases, 36 Septembers? Let's dig into the September for a second, because elk season means the world to me. So let's say I have 36 Septembers at best left. Let's just say on average, if you're the average hunter out there that works hard for their money and takes their vacation, you're going to hunt out of state maybe once every 3 years, maybe every 4 years. Okay. Let's just say you have 36 Septembers left and you hunt every 3 years out of state. Like, that's what you look forward to. So that's 12 more out of state hunts if you're 43 years old. 12 more of those hunts in Colorado or Montana or Wyoming or wherever you go out of state. 12 more hunts that are probably on average 5 to 7 days long. So that equals about 60 to 70 days over the course of the next 36 years. But taking into account injuries, weather delay or weather cancellations, hiccups, maybe your partner can't go, etc. Let's just say it's about half of that, 30 to 40 days on the mountain out of state on average, if you're my age. And then if you take that, so let's just say you have 30 to 40 more days out of state on the mountain, if you're my age, like full days. And let's say that you, on average, you have the average success rate. 10% is about roughly the archery success rate, right? So if you have 12 more of those trips, roughly 30 to 40 more days at a 10% success rate, really that's just a few more bulls out of state. Now, I know I'm not even exaggerating. I mean, that's realistic for a lot of people. If you start thinking about that, that should literally scare the living daylights out of you. It scares me. The Altitude Show is brought to you by GoHunt.com. GoHunt.com is the place for all things hunting. And the coolest thing is that their app now incorporates not just maps, but also some of the key features from the website, including draw odds, harvest success, public land percentage in an area, trophy potential, weapon, season type, season dates, all incorporated into the app. They know that most of you, like me, are using your smartphone most of the time. You're not on your desktop. So they brought all these features over into the Go Hunt app to make the experience for you as a hunter just a little bit more convenient. So go check it out. If you're not a member of Go Hunt, you should be. It's an incredible service. Go become an insider. Use my code Altitude. You'll get a discount, and you will also become a better hunter. So go become a Go Hunt member, and you'll be able to use the same features that you use on their website right there on your app, and along with your maps. So use code Altitude. It helps the show. Have a good day. Like, it's really weird to think about stuff like that. So that's when I was digging into, like, how do you get your life together? What are the things you can do to get on track? What brought me to the core of it, which is what actually matters. Like, if you do have 36 years of life left on average, if you're lucky, what actually do you want to focus on? What actually matters? A lot of us spend the first half of our life chasing the things that everybody chases. Is what our society chases, which is money and things, right? The physical, material things. I like them. I got a lot of stuff. I have way too much stuff. I've chased all the same things. I continue to do so. But I often sit and wonder, like, what actually matters? Because it's cliche to say and it's stupid, but that stuff doesn't make you happy. It gives you like a high for a second, but then it goes away. So what does actually matter? Like if someone told you, David, you have 36 years to live for sure. Like here's the date you're going to die. What are you going to do at that time? What do you focus on? What would you focus on? And the answer for me is I think the actual real currency is time and health. If I could have more time and have my health to use that time in a way that makes me happy, that's actually what matters. And I have friends that live to this. I have friends that money does not drive them at all, and I've always admired that because I am partly driven by money. I'm a human. I like making money. It's fun, feels good, and I have had money problems in the past, and money problems suck. But if you reorient yourself towards some things that actually matter, I do think money comes. So, where am I getting with all this? I'm getting to the place of if what I just told you kind of scares you or stuns you on how finite time is, then and let's just say maybe you are in a real low place. Your life isn't together. Your relationships aren't great. Maybe you're drinking too much or doing drugs or addicted to sex or whatever the porn, whatever the thing is that's holding you back, and you know it's not the right thing to be focused on, and you want to get your shit together. That's how I feel every day. I want to get my shit together. I want to continue to get my shit together. I have a great life, but I want to continue to work on this. What do you do? What are the steps? And I was reading up on this, and kind of my takeaways were the following. One, I realized that I was in a shitty place when I was 25. That was almost 20 years ago, and I'm still a work in progress. Like it's never going to be perfect, right? So realizing that it's not going to turn around in a day or a month or a year or 5 years, and B, it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to fall down right on your face and go back to bad habits and all the things that are bothering you about yourself. They can be easily revisited in a moment of weakness. It's more like turning around the Titanic, not an F-16. But if you turn around the ship into the general right direction and start heading that way, your life overall on average will be better, even though there's highs and lows. That's just life. So I was reading up on it, and there's 6 or 7 things that seem to be kind of common around all advice given by professionals on how to turn your shit around. And the first one is like having some compassion. I struggle with this. It's like you make a mistake or you have a moment of weakness where you do whatever it is that you're not proud of, and have a little compassion for yourself and realize that you're a human and you're going to screw up. It's having compassion is different than not holding yourself accountable. Like it's just, if you're too hard on yourself, it can actually backfire on you in other negative ways. So you have to have a little bit of compassion for yourself and realize that you're a human and you're never going to be perfect. And everybody else is struggling with the same shit. You're just trying to turn your big ship in the right direction and overall, on average, make your life better. So let's say your goal is to exercise every day, and there's a day that goes by where you're just feeling lazy and you don't want to exercise. I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying it's going to happen, and you can't beat the hell out of yourself because of that. You just got to go, I got to put the shoes back on and get right back at it immediately and not let it become a habit. The second thing that seems like professionals say is you have to be able to recognize the issue and identify the problems. Otherwise, you can't change anything. So if it's drinking or, whatever, you have to go, all right, this is an issue and this is my fault and I want my future to look different. Therefore, I'm admitting it and I want to change something. If you just go, I don't think it's much of an issue, nothing's going to change. And you're just wasting your time. You have to admit it. The third thing is setting some real goals. So like, for example, if I value time and health over money and things, that's going to force me to make different decisions, we make hundreds of decisions a day, thousands a week. But if you're generally pointed towards these overarching goals, that'll help you make those decisions, you're far better off. But it's a little deeper than that. They have to be realistic. So like if you're 50 pounds overweight and you want to get shredded, you got to say first I'm going to, eat better. Second, I'm going to work out 2 days a week, then 3 days a week, then 5 days a week. So in other words, they have to be realistic goals, but they have to, in order to have a goal, it's got to be aimed at like a strategy, like your overarching strategy. So like if mine is health and time, then every decision I make needs to be oriented towards that. And then I set micro realistic goals to get there, which take years, months, weeks, days. And baby steps is what it's all about. There's only so much freaking time in a day between picking up kids, packing lunches, making dinner, spending time with your family, working, trying to make a paycheck, fixing car issues, house issues, dealing with family stuff. Like you only have so much time to work on yourself. So don't get too hung up on spending all day, every day worrying about this stuff. You might only get 20 minutes a day to do something. Maybe it's a freaking yoga class or a workout, or just not drinking that night, or just little baby steps. It's amazing how much momentum that can be. It's kind of like paying off this, like Dave Ramsey says, pay off the smallest credit card first, just to feel like you can give yourself momentum, and then you can work towards the biggest credit card. Same thing. It's like baby steps towards those goals. The fourth thing is like, and I really struggle with this one, positive self-talk. If you're like me and you have those voices in your head that are constantly telling you that you're not good enough, you're a imposter, all these negative things, you have to learn how to redirect that into more positive talk. And I know it's annoying and it seems kind of bullshit, woo-woo, but it's true. And it's just being conscious of not allowing yourself to talk inside your head, or even verbally, actually, auditorily, negatively about yourself. Give yourself a little grace. Number 5 is bounce back fast if you fall. Like whatever weak point you have, if you fall down and you actually go back to that thing, make sure you bounce back really quickly, because reigniting that drive to get past this is much harder the longer you wait to bounce back. So if you fall, get right back up the same day and be like, nope, I fucked up, but I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to keep moving forward. So you got to bounce back really quick. Otherwise, you're going to fall right back into your old self. Number 6, which I think is one of the biggest ones, is when you have a sharp body, you have a sharp mind. And if you are physically in shape, you're much more likely to be mentally in shape. It just gives you more confidence. The hard things in life seem easier. I cannot harp on this enough. That's one of the reasons I partnered with Mountain Tough, is because if I don't physically exert myself 5 to 6 times a week, I don't feel right. Our bodies are meant to work. We were hunting, gathering for hundreds of thousands of years, up until the last 50 years, when we had the luxury of the internet, social media, computers, sitting in front of a screen every day. Our bodies are made to move, and if it's not moving, it's not going to be right. And if it's not right, your mind's not right. So it's like this is like a non-starter. You have to do this. It's not a choice. Get your body in shape, and your mind will follow. Number 7 is ground on what matters. Gary Vee always says this. Gary Vee is an entrepreneur I follow, and he always says, fuck the Joneses. He's like, I want to find these Joneses, and like who are these people that everybody's chasing? Who is this mysterious figure called the Joneses that everybody's chasing? Like this status, like I need the SUV and the home with the 2-car garage and the 2.5 kids and the $500,000 a year. Like, screw all that. Like, what are your actual goals? Ground on what actually matters, and don't worry about what everybody else is thinking of you. And it's much easier said than done. I worry about all the same shit, but I constantly have to remind myself that actually, my wife told me this one day, the only opinions that matter are the ones inside these 4 walls. And that is actually true. Most of the time when we worry about what other people think about us or our status, they aren't thinking about us at all. They don't care. They have their own problems. And it's like this weird human thing that and I will caveat that by saying that having a little bit of chip on your shoulder to prove people wrong isn't bad, because it can drive you to do positive things, but it shouldn't be the only contributing factor. Do it because your goals matter to you, not what other people think. And number 8 is you got to talk to people. Dudes out there, I know you're tough, and you don't want to talk, but you have to talk to somebody. And usually it's not going to be fellow dudes, because they're just as dull-headed as the rest of us. Sometimes it's got to be, either a therapist or your wife or your mom, whatever. Don't know. Figure it out. You have to talk to somebody to hold you accountable, mostly, because hold you accountable, but also help you. There's trauma that exists in your head that is hard to deal with. And I actually, I want to talk about that, because a lot of what causes self-destructive behavior, apparently, according to the professionals, is difficult emotion or trauma that we don't know how to cope with, and paired with just cultural things like everybody smokes when they turn 15, everybody chews when they turn 15 in a rural community, everybody drinks, everybody has sex. Like, you pair that with just if someone was abused, or whatever trauma they have in their minds, that they're just, their young minds don't know how to cope with this. So what do? They go to what everybody else does. That is a real big problem, and it can really cause some negative behavior that hopefully some of the things we just talked about can help you get through. And I don't like talk about like stuff like this, guys, because I'm like preaching, because I really, the reason I'm researching this stuff so much is because I want to know. I struggle with all the same stuff that you do. I'm really, really, doing this podcast, like these episodes where it's just me, helps me deal with all the stuff I got to deal with. So it's really not me preaching at all. It's me like working out in front of the public, my own issues, and hopefully it helps you guys, because I know that no one's perfect out there that's listening, and I know you have all your own issues, and I know they're hard to deal with, and I know people are in a really, really bad place, and I would love to see you get out of that. I have been there, and I'm still crawling out of that hole, and it's worth it. The view is worth the climb, but there's a lot of things you have to do to get your shit together, and it takes a lot of time. And so I hope you can do that. I really do. You've got this. So you guys, we have a YouTube channel, and you should all be subscribed to it. It's the Altitude Show on YouTube. I post all the podcasts plus a bunch of clips. You should subscribe. Also, if you have anything that I'm missing on, or anything you ever want, questions you want to ask me, or things you want to say to me, tell me I'm dumb, you can email me at info@altitudeshow.live. info@altitudeshow.live. And I'd love to hear from you. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. We got some awesome interviews coming up. Sorry for the lack of interviews lately. It's just been kind of a weird couple months, but more coming your way. Have a great day.